You see, the more and more that I learn about planes, the more and more I find out that they only suggest and prove that the Earth is flat. It started out when NASA was assuming that the Earth was flat and non-rotating. In multiple documents talking about planes flying over the surface of the Earth, I found it extremely odd that we could assume that the Earth is flat and non-rotating and the models would work. Why wouldn't we assume reality if the Earth were spherical and spinning 1,000 miles per hour at the equator and getting slower and slower relative to getting closer to the poles? If the Earth were spinning 1,000 miles per hour east to west, okay, and planes fly 500 miles per hour, and they were flying east to west, west to east, those time differences would be extremely different. But it's like the Earth is flat and non-rotating because the time differences are like 30 minutes, okay? Think about it. I don't know. Think about it. That's suggesting that the Earth's probably flat and non-rotating. But it gets weirder as the planes fly faster. This is the SR-71. This plane flies 2,200 miles per hour at a rough altitude of 80,000 feet. That would necessitate it drops 836 feet a second to stay at the same altitude over the curvature of the Earth based on the geometry of the curvature of the Earth. This plane would have to drop 9.3 miles in 60 seconds. At 2,200 miles per hour, you can do some math and figure out the G-force on that. Yeah, that's impossible. That would not be good for the pilot's brain and neck. Then you can look into the instrumentation of a plane. We have what's called pitch attitude or pitch angle, which is the angle between the horizon and longitudinal axis of the plane. So this is done by a gyroscope. This gives us our pitch data relative to the horizon, which is always flat, by the way. The gyro spins on this axis and tells the plane whether it is upside down, tilting, pitched up, pitched down, relative to the horizon, because you spin it up before you fly. But the problem with this, if we took just a normal mechanical gyro, not any of the extremely fancy ones, what we should see is a tilt relative to distance over the surface of the Earth if the Earth were curved and the plane were tilting. Because if the Earth were a ball, here, if the Earth were a ball and a plane started here and flying around the Earth, obviously the gyro would have to be tilted as it went around the Earth. But we never see that. When we see a mechanical gyro, they never tilt like this over distance. It's like the Earth is flat. It's kind of freaking me out. If you enjoyed the video today, all I ask, share this with a fellow Globie. Maybe someone you've been talking to about the shape of the Earth relative to planes. And if they suggest whether it's flat or a globe, I think here today we've definitively suggested that they suggest one way, and that is that the Earth is flat. Have a good one. Today we're going to be discussing gravity. This quote by Sean Carroll from Quanta and Fields on page 42 is extremely relevant to the conversation we're going to be having today. It is difficult to explain quantum mechanics in a satisfying way when we can't even agree on what the theory says. Now, before we explain how this relates to gravity, we have to understand a few fundamental things before we get into that. Specifically, the words kinematics and dynamics. Kinematics is the branch of mechanics concerned with the motion of objects without reference to the force which causes the motion. So purely just the object in motion and a description of that motion or that motion in relation to other bodies. Now we have dynamics, which is the branch of mechanics concerned with the motion of bodies under the action of forces. The forces or properties which stimulate the growth and development or change within a system or process. Why are we talking about this? What is the importance of this? Well, we have a theory for gravity and we have a law for gravity. These two words perfectly describe why we have these two things. Why would we have a law and a theory for something, right? The acceleration rate is described, or the kinematics is described by the law, by this mathematical formula here. The current dynamical claim for why that acceleration rate happens is the theory of relativity. The reason why we have to have this dynamical claim is because Einstein realized that there is no distinction between acceleration and gravity. If you were stationary on the Earth and you dropped a basketball, it would accelerate towards the ground. And if you were taking a rocket and you were in space and you were to go up, it would look the exact same way. So that's the equivalence principle, even though space doesn't real. It's just a hint. This was just a crazy thought experiment done by some guy in the 1900s that married his cousin. How does Sean Carroll's quote relate to gravitation? Well, with quantum, they can't agree on what the theory says. With gravity, they can't agree on what the theory is. Everybody's heard of mass attracting mass from Newton, but not a lot of people are aware of the modified Newtonian dynamics, the current theory where they are modifying Newton's theory and making it work with the time variable in the modern era. That is a current theory for gravity, a dynamic claim. We also have entropic gravity, which is a modern claim, where gravity emerges from entropy. We also have a quantum claim of gravity, that gravity is acting as a particle. Another dynamic claim. And then we have the theory of relativity. All of these claims are equal as of now. One is far better than the other as far as the modern theories. So we have specifically 4 different theories we've listed here, probably more, of how gravity dynamically works. They don't know. They don't have any idea. And Einstein's theory requires literally dark matter and dark energy to make up 95% of the universe because its mathematics was wrong on galaxy cluster rotation speeds relative to mass. So yes, Einstein's theory of relativity was off by 95%. So they made up an invisible particle in mass that nobody can see that is supposedly there and makes up 95% of the universe alongside dark energy. To quickly give you an idea of why things fall and go up before we head out of here on a flat Earth, we have buoyancy, density, and electrostatics. A helium balloon is not an anti-gravity machine. It's simply less dense than the encompassing medium. So if you're in the atmospheric gases that we have on the Earth and you're more dense like a human, you're not going to fly away from the Earth. Why things fall in a vacuum at the same rate is not gravity either. There's just no medium to impede the motion, so everything should fall at the same rate. Why things fall up and not down in a vacuum is because we have electrostatics in the atmosphere like I'm showing here. So the atmosphere is positively charged and it is constantly grounding to the ground. So there's a constant downpour, everything is electrostatic, so everything will naturally seek down. You will have to supersede that force with buoyancy and density. A vacuum cannot do that. So hope you enjoyed this. There are some problems with the modern theory of gravity, and if anybody is claiming that gravity is real and has been proven, they just don't understand that why they have a law and a theory. So go ahead and send this over to somebody that thinks gravity is proven and real. Hope you guys have a good one. See you in my lives. Every day off, I do go live at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and I openly debate any globe earther willing to come up and think they have evidence of gravity, the motion of the Earth, or curvature. Have a good one.
If you still believe we live here, I have something to tell you. Gas pressure needs a container. This is the definition. The name given to the force exerted by gas particles colliding with the wall of their container. Does this look like a container to you? The atmosphere right against the vacuum of space? Does that make any sense at all? You can't say gravity is the thing holding it there, because when you open a can of Coke, right near where gravity should be the strongest, it still has that psh noise, and the gas vacates immediately. This is due to the second law of thermodynamics, where the gas pressure is always trying to find its equilibrium. So it's immediately evacuating and creating an equilibrium inside the can and outside the can. That should happen on a ball Earth, but it doesn't, because there's something above us. I'm sure you know what that is by now, but that's the simple fact. This is a physical law of reality. We're in a pressurized environment right now. There's 14.7 pounds per square inch of pressure on us at sea level. I urge you to please do your own research. Look into this as deeply as possible. You'll never find an experiment that proves that gravity is the thing holding down the gases. It's just pseudoscience. They'll say it's happening even though it can't. Physically it cannot. Thanks. Have a great day.
Earth is flat. You heard about the yin-yang, right? And that is our sun and moon rotating around on our magnetic North Pole. It is also an electromagnetic field, or a pole of electromagnetic energy, which is energy out and energy in. Polaris is always above the North Pole. Earth always described as a giant electromagnetic field, and we, humans, are also considered as electromagnetic field. Our neutral Earth point is our plane of inertia. The atoms that creates our reality are always dualistic, which is the positive and negative. That includes the balance of good and bad. Sun is masculine and our moon is feminine. Our local sun charges us, which gives us energy, and the moon create a negative charge on us. The arc art of Egypt described the flat earth. The Masonic arc of every lounges exists, also describing a flat earth. All Freemason lounges stand on a black and white checkerboard floor that represents the good and evil. When stars with no light pollution creates an infinite arc, or what we consider the main firmament. The top-down view of our torus field creates a symbol that what we call the lotus of life or the flower of life. Magnetism always radiates. Electricity always vibrates. The hyperboloid is the center of our torus field, or known as the inhale and exhale loop. It's actually a soul system, not solar system. Nikola Tesla already understood that energy is already free. That is why pyramids means pyrometal, or fire in the middle. In a simple way, we call it heart or the core, and this is what produces on our electromagnetic field. Pyramids are built for the purpose of a connection, and this is only a part of a giant magnetic field. Our pyramids have this what we called capstones, the ones used to function the electric grid. Now they all change it to 5G towers, and that is being erected around the world. That's why we pay electricity and energy up until now. That is because the capstones has been removed, which are inside the pyramids. Free energy is real and it is suppressed. And that's the whole reason they destroyed Tesla's Wardenclyffe power, so that we can pay money for gas and electric. This is a cathedral on a modern microcircuit with an emitter antenna. Cathedral, also known as cathode roll. A cathode is a type of electrode through which electrons move. Electrodes are a semiconductor, usually a metal that is connected to a non-metal. Cathode deliver electrons, or what we call a negative charge. The anode collects the electrons, which have a positive charge. Anode is negative, cathode is positive. And by combining these two, it is now called electrolyte. The design of each cathedrals always have these two heads, which is the left wing and the right wing, which is the anode and the cathode. Anode is the electrode where oxidation occurs. Cathode is the electrode where reduction occurs, or also known as the ether energy conductor. They all have this in Teotihuacan, at the Vaticano, and Carol, Peru. It's all about energy out and energy in. Everything that you see that could be nature, water, all of it possess a unique energy charge, and we don't exactly know what month or year we are already in. And why they all did this? Just to keep us out of sync, especially the monthly cycles of our body. As I say, moon always governs the water, and that includes the liquids within our body. That's why we females get a menstrual cycle, or the menstrual cycle. We have this fluid produced by the upper brain, which always falls down on our spine, and that exactly every month. And this can make us all function in a higher capacity. These symbols are all part of our DNAs. The halos of our earth also have it too. And these are shapes of all existence. As above, so below. Even the tones of every harmonic frequency, they have it too. In short, we are all living frequency in different vibrations. Are you gonna vibrate higher or keep on a lowest state? Choice is yours.
I can prove the sun is at 93 million miles away using just this strainer. The farther away the light gets, the tighter the sun rays get. Fact of the matter is, you cannot replicate these images without a local sun. End of story.
The easiest observation to disprove flat Earth, which covered the fact that if you view planes in the sky, either just after sunset or just before sunrise, you can often see the sun reflecting off the underside of the plane. And I explained how that can only happen if the light is coming up from below the plane's horizontal, which would prove that the sun is below the plane's horizontal and thus a globe, rather than a flat Earth where the sun would be above the plane.
Time to debunk this. Okay, did you know that the sun is actually setting behind this house here? It's far off that way. But how is the light on the front of the house if the sun is setting far behind it? Well, the sun is actually reflecting off of these windows and coming back to the front of this house. And if you'll notice, the shadow is downward, meaning that the sun, although it's setting, is still above everything here. You're wondering why you see sunlight on the bottom of a plane during sunrise and sunset when you live on a giant mirror during sunrise and sunset, the angle would be just perfect to shoot light up and under an airplane. The window on a house caused an impossible observation. Imagine what an ocean would do, or just large bodies of water in general. You essentially live on a giant mirror with a very bright light circling around. Expect light to be coming in from all directions during sunset and sunrise.
Question to all my globe defenders, my globe believers, my science guys. Where does frozen oxygen or liquid helium exist in this belief system? Because all I could find it is in laboratories.
What you are seeing right here is the Chicago skyline seen from 50 miles away on Indiana Dunes National Lakeshore. Now, from an observation height of 6 feet, there should be 1,473 feet of curvature, which is exactly what we see here, because the tallest building in all of Chicago, the Willis Tower, is 1,451 feet high. And we obviously didn't see any buildings at all, and we certainly did not see the tallest building in Chicago because it was all under curvature. And you guys remember that Family Guy episode where Neil Armstrong walks out of a little Hollywood set and the guy's like, "Hey, I just saw you live on TV on the moon. Shouldn't you be on the moon?" And he's like, "Oh, solar winds," and and hits him in the head, knocks him out, and throws him in his car. That's really interesting, but of course this is just a conspiracy theory, even though most rockets follow an arched pathway. And of course, look at that. It looks like it's scraping something above, perhaps the firmament, the waters above. Now, maybe that was just the combusting gases and stuff coming out of the rocket, right? Oh, but it does it again. Why don't we zoom in and actually see what's going on? What is that substance coming off of this rocket? Now, of course, I made all of this up, I edited all of these videos, and I have no idea what I'm talking about because this was for satire and entertainment purposes only.
It came in the mail and y'all are opening it with me. Ooh. Smell it. Woo! Here we go.
The Flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Idialenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.